After the National Trust for Historic Preservation, the Guam Preservation Trust, and We Are Guahan filed a lawsuit against the selection of Pagat as a firing range complex, the Department of Defense decided to conduct a supplemental environmental impact statement, or SEIS, on their proposed marine firing range complex. Joint Guam Program Office Executive Director Joe Ludovici made it clear today that they are still moving forward with plans to move Marines from Okinawa to Guam and are therefore proceeding with their firing range SEIS. The Joint Guam Program Office and Marine Corps officials told island leaders and island media today that this time around there will be more public input. U.S. Marine Corps Headquarters Pacific Division Director Brian Wood.
What I think we're really trying to do here is make it as absolutely open as possible. Give the public as many opportunities as they can to comment, to provide written comments, to hear what we have to say, to ask questions so that we can educate them about why we need these things, how they'll be built, why they'll be built. I think it's the openness and the manner in which we're doing that really is different.
But this is not the only thing that is going to be really different. This time around, DoD will also conduct a more thorough study of the Naval Magazine as a potential site for a firing range complex. During the first EIS, DoD determined that the Naval Magazine was unsuitable, but officials are now planning on using a new methodology for determining the size of the surface danger zone, or SDZ, of the firing range. This new methodology is called the probabilistic methodology.
It's very computer-driven modeling where you take each individual weapon that's fired on a range, you use the characteristics of that weapon, you fire 10 million rounds via computer, and you trace out where it would go. For the most part, it now takes into account all of the local conditions. So it takes into account the fact that you may be shooting uphill or downhill, there's a cliff line that would block, you're in a mountain, there's vegetation, any number of different physical characteristics.
Wood says that this probabilistic methodology is new. It was developed by European allies and usually results in a smaller surface danger zone, allowing them to fit the firing range into a smaller area. However, they will not consider some of the other areas that they have already ruled out, for example, the Nictams area, Taragi and Arodi, because they are simply too small. Instead, they will again consider 2 alternatives in the Pagat Route 15 area and 3 alternatives on Naval Magazine.
What we're going to put forward when we do the scoping meetings is 3 alternatives that we're looking at for how we can try to make it fit, for the most part, within NAVMAP. And so you will see that it would require some public or government land or private land if we do that.
Ludovici says they've been meeting with mayors and the Department of Revenue Tax and Land Management to determine which private landowners may be affected. In fact, they are already sending out letters to some private landowners in the Agate-Santa Rita area requesting permission to conduct environmental studies on their property. Ludovici says they're not sure how much non-DoD property will be required to use Naval Magazine as a firing range. This is something they won't know until they narrow down their choices to one of the 3 alternative plans in that area. Including all 3 alternatives, there are potentially 55 parcels of land that could be affected. Even if the number of Marines is cut in half, as recent reports have indicated, it won't change the need for the firing range or the size of the firing range complex.
The only thing that changes if in the end we reduce the number of Marines here is the throughput. In fact, how many Marines you would have to put through there on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis.
Wood says the president is still committed to a Marine presence on Guam.
We are not going to put such a small Marine force on Guam that we wouldn't need live fire ranges.